Hey, Bobby Motor.
Hey, my name is Riley.
Hey everybody, this is Michael and you're listening to Speculo Live.
Good morning, everybody. This is your host, Riley VanderKaay, here at Speculo Live. I have a guest here that I am unbelievably excited to talk to. This is somebody that I have been wanting to get in a room and interview and talk about her story and what she's about. And she runs just the most amazing real estate team that we have the pleasure of working with. And so we are starting off the year having an amazing conversation with the infamous Sarah Reynolds. Sarah, how are you doing this morning?
I'm awesome, Riley. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I am super excited. Those for the people that like to follow the show, they know we jump right in and we get things moving quickly and we try to pack in as much value here because I know your time is valuable as well. The first time I met you, Sarah, you pushed me to, I think it was probably the first thing you said to me, actually. We sat down for lunch in San Diego. We were having a conversation and you stopped me right in the middle and you said, tell me your story. I want to know about you. I don't care about your business. I want to learn about you. I want your story because the human's more important than the thing or the business or whatever, right? So I want to start our conversation this morning by firing that question right back at you. I want our listeners to hear your story because I think it is outstanding. So kick us off with your story, Sarah.
Yeah, so I was raised in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC Metro, right outside of Washington, DC, and was raised in a pastor's family. And so as a pastor's family, what you learn is to talk to people. It's sort of expected of you, whether you're 4 years old or 14 years old or 24 years old. If you're part of the pastor's family, you talk to people. And a lot of PKs, pastors' kids, view that as like a negative, like that they were put under so much pressure and things like that. I view it as a positive because I learned at a very young age how to have conversations with 70-year-olds, with 50-year-olds, with fellow 4-year-olds. And so I was raised really focusing on faith and the community and doing your very best with anything that God gifts you to do your very best. And so that's what I've been up to for the rest of my life. And so I went to college and studied business and fell in love with business. I was one of those normal 18-year-olds that didn't know what I wanted to do and hopped from major to major to major until I took my very first business class. And when I took my very first business class, I just fell in love with the idea of business, the idea of tracking, the idea of making a bigger impact on having a team, and started on the route of the business world. And my mom at the time was in real estate. She actually became a realtor when I was 4 years old, and she needed help with the real estate business. So because she couldn't show houses. I actually didn't view it as she needed help with the real estate business at the time. I viewed it as she needed help showing houses and I needed to get my real estate license to help her. And so I did in 2006 and did that for a few years. I was her buyer's agent and learned how to serve a lot of buyers at a high level during the Great Recession, and didn't actually fall in love with necessarily being a realtor. I fell in love with the business side of real estate. And in 2000, she put me in charge and we started building a real estate business. And so at the time we served about 50 families a year. And last year we served right under 2,100 families. And so that's me, a little bit about me.
Unbelievable. Okay, so I already have like a million questions. Number one, this PK lifestyle, as you've coined the term, which I love that, PKs, pastor kids. This PK lifestyle, you said something there about talking to a lot of people, right? And talking to a lot of people at different ages. So tell me how that has shaped your experience so far. I mean, obviously growing up, I'm sure that shaped a lot, but in real estate, in the business space, growing up as a child where, you know, like you said, fellow 4-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 70-year-olds, what was that like? How do you think that made you who you are today?
I think so many times we put other humans in boxes, right? And we judge them based on what we see, right? So like age, like skin tone, like we make judgments based on what we think, based on how they're dressed or what they look like or how they hold themselves. And one of the things how that shaped me is like understanding that every human, no matter their age or stage that they're in, or however they show themselves, has a story. And that our job is, the more we can get to know someone's story, the better we can be in relationship with them. Like that conversation with you in San Diego when you shared with me your story, I mean, it impacted me in a really big way. I started being a better leader to those that I know have similar stories to you or similar backgrounds. And I would have never known that. I would have never had the benefit of learning about that had I have not been curious about who you were and understanding like your background, not based on what you look like, not based on your age. And that's how I've been shaped through all of the stories that I've been able to hear over the years from other humans. And it started with my upbringing of just learning, hey, it's more than what someone looks like, and it's more than what someone's age is. They all have a story, and you can actually gain knowledge and understanding by just that one question to everyone you talk to. Like, what's your story? And so many times in real estate, we define our story based on like how many homes we sold, based on what our revenue was last year, based on like where we rank in our production. And our story is nothing of that. Our story is our background. Our story is what experiences we've had that have led to us being here today. And when you really get to know those things of humans, that's when you actually rise versus leaning on production that comes and goes.
Yeah, well, it's almost like it manifested this curiosity inside of you that's just been, been projected out through not only just business, but also the people that you work with every day.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That's really interesting. So, okay. So you also said something there, 50 families in what year?
That was 2009.
2009. So 50 families in 2009. Last year was just under 2,100.
Yes. Yep.
Unbelievable. Okay. That's just like hard to like wrap my head around here. So I'm going to ask some questions around that because that's crazy in and of itself. So thinking about that experience from what you just described from your story, your childhood, your upbringing, and I love your viewpoint on it. So much deeper than what you see on the outside, right? How for you has business from 50 families served to 2,100 evolved you as a human being, right? How have you grown and changed through that experience versus that, being a PK kid?
Yeah. I think the biggest way, one of the things that I learned in studying in business school is that we used to do these called case studies. So a case study is basically like a story about a business. And then there's like 3 to 4 questions, like, what did they do right? What could they have improved on? What would you have done if you were the leader of this business? And so like, that's how I learned in school was like case study after case study after case study. And when I got my real estate license and after a few years in, like I was committing to this industry at that time, I wanted to study it. So I did a case study on the real estate industry and a detailed case study. And I found that depending on the year, between 80 to 95% of realtors that get their real estate license will not be licensed in 3 years. So that means that 5 to 20% will succeed. So we have one of the largest failure rates as an industry than any other industry. It's a high failure rate. And as I was like meeting other realtors, I kept finding so many agents that had the right heart. Like they got in because they wanted to help people. They wanted to help people build wealth in real estate. There is a handful of realtors that do it for money and for like what they view as a freedom lifestyle, which is such a joke. But there is a handful, right? But the majority of agents, when you talk to, they got their license for good reasons, but yet they failed. They kept failing over and over and over again, right? They kept quitting. Their heart was in the right place in the beginning, but in 3 years, they're no longer in the industry. And I started saying, there has to be a better way, and really started realizing that I could make an impact, not just on my immediate community, but I could make an impact on our industry by really leaning into team building. And so real estate's one of the only industries that like prides themselves in independence, right? Like we're independent contractors. No one's your boss, all of this stuff. And as my grandpa would say, a bunch of hogwash, because they're like, God didn't make one perfect human. Like we all have like weaknesses and we all have strengths. And the issue with the real estate industry that I see is that you feel like when you first get in, you have to be good at everything. You have to be good as a marketer. You have to be good as an admin person. You have to be good as a salesperson. You have to be good with details. Like you have to be good with tech and websites. And I mean, like you literally have to have every skill. And it almost teaches you that if you don't know how to do it, every skill, you're a failure. And versus what I realized was that you can make a bigger impact on your community by owning what you're good at and owning what you're not good at, right? Which is why we've partnered with you, right? Is because I don't know all the things you know, right? And so and that's how you can actually impact your community, not by pretending to know it all. And like this idea of fake it till you make it and all those things. And I think that's important when we're like, selling. It's important to like have confidence, but like you do not have to be good at everything. You have to be good at where you're already gifted and lean into people that are good where you have gaps. And so like a big part is like you can make a bigger impact by doing that and leaning into the things that you're good at and leaning out on the things that you're not good at.
That's like such an important leadership quality, because it's not like, I think a lot of people will go out there and say, oh, we have to have humility as leader. Yes, absolutely. But it's interesting because it's not just about humility. It's also just going really deep on the things you know really well. We kind of have this analogy we talk about with our business and our products of, do we want to be 10 miles wide and 2 inches deep, or 2 inches wide and 10 miles deep, right? What is the thing that we really want to go deep on? Because it doesn't work to go wide, right? It really just doesn't. So what was the pivotal moment for you where from a very like strategic standpoint of growing a business from 50 to 2,100 families served, what was that strategic moment where you said, okay, Sarah, you have to let go? Because we all deal with that as leaders, right? You want it to be perfect and you want it to work so well and you want it to do the way that you want to do it. When did you realize to let it go? Like, what was that pivotal moment where you let go and it really hockey sticked up?
Yeah, so it was in 2015. I was pregnant with my second daughter. I was producing. I was our number one producer. I was selling about 70 to 80 homes a year. I was leading every single department. And at the time, our departments were like 1 or 2 people, but it was like multiple departments. We had our ops department. We had our inside sales department. We had our director of marketing. And building those systems and building the engine that fuels Empower Home, and at the same time, like funding it through selling a lot of houses. I made a salary of $75,000 for 10 years, but personally sold about 1.8 million in income. And so everything outside of the 75,000 went back into the business, growing it and building it. And I realized in 2015, like something's got to stop. Like I can't do it all. And if I truly want to build a team that's making an impact on realtors, like staying in the game, which is like a big part of my mission is helping agents with the right heart stay in the industry by doing what they thought that they were going to do when they got their license. And so if I truly wanted to do that, which I do and did, then I needed to back out of being the main producer. I needed to come off the leaderboard. My identity no longer could be how many homes I sold last year. And instead it needed to be on how many humans I developed last year. And so that was the pivotal moment. And also one of the scariest by far. Financially, one of the scariest decisions that I had to make.
I can imagine. Well, it's interesting because as you're talking, I was thinking about one thing in particular, which is why I personally got drawn so much to the real estate space, which is like, for me as a tech company, right? It's very normal to go get funding from a VC or raise a round of cash to go really grow your business and supercharge it. Real estate is, everyone in real estate's an entrepreneur, but I don't know about you. I've never heard of a real estate team that went and got VC backed funding to go build a team, right? So a lot of team leaders, a lot of rainmakers, as you might call it, end up in a situation like yourself where they're selling, millions of dollars of real estate and just sending it back to their team. And at one point you go, oh, well, I've got this team that's doing 100 million in production, but then you go in and you look and the team leader is doing 85, right? And so I'm really curious from you, like when you're thinking through that, like, shift, was that a death for you, right? Was that an experience where you had to let go of that? Was it an ego thing? Was it a control thing? Like, what was it that really, because I think so many team leaders listening to this are going to resonate with that, number one. And number two, there's this thing where you got to be really honest with yourself as a leader, where it's, okay, am I actually providing value by holding, touching, being inside of this conversation or this decision, or am I actually just hindering the leaders from growing? And you said something I loved around, like, your KPI is how many humans did I grow this year, right? What was that mentally out of how much money did I generate for my business so I could grow versus how many people did I generate and improve that they can grow it with me?
Yeah, I don't think for me it was ego. I didn't struggle with like the decision of like, oh my goodness, like my ego is tied to selling 80 houses necessarily. I think the biggest thing for me was like, I just saw it as like a massive challenge. Like it's one thing that you don't see happen successfully many times. Most times rainmakers, if they do step out of production, it's short term because they have to get back in because financially it's extremely difficult. Because it's one thing to be the person at the table, like closing for the listing, or to be the person with the buyer, getting them under contract. Like that does take skill. Like, to be very clear, that takes skill. It's a whole nother level to teach another group of people to do it. And we're like I'll never forget our conversion when I was our main listing agent was about 85%. So about 80 to 85% of the listing appointments we went on, we were closing. Okay. Which is very good. It's a high conversion rate. And then I started sending my agents in June of 2015, and it went down to 30%.
Oh my
so
goodness.
From 85% to 30% within 6 months. I mean, I was panicked because what I realized was I was not teaching my people. I was not developing my people. I was not helping them grow. I was doing all the doing. And then I leaned into like true development of others, which that takes so much work and time, development of other people, and developing them to convert, and developing them to not give up, and helping them see their blind spots on, how they made a lead feel, or how they made someone that they met with feel. And it was a whole nother set of skills that I thought I had when I made the decision, but I learned very quickly that I didn't have. And I almost gave up multiple times and went back out there. And it was literally the 6th month. I had given myself a 6-month time frame to turn conversion around, or else I would have had to I had to financially get back out. And it was like 5.5 months, like 2 weeks before my deadline. And we finally started converting, and I started understanding, okay, I got to lean into developing. And it was such a mindset shift from being, it's much easier to be the one on the front line than it is to be the one leading the front line and teaching them what to do, and learning that I needed to be a better trainer. I need to be a better leader. I remember I was coaching with Sajag, and I know that he has had a big impact on you as well. And he told me, like, if you don't learn to teach and to train, you're going to fail. And so just leaning into that. And I don't know if I'm answering your exact question, but
no, this is not only did you answer the question, but you just dropped so many valuable nuggets there. I want to go deeper on that. So obviously there's no formula, right? There's no like you do this and then you do this and then you do this and it works perfectly. And for somebody that's done it now for over a decade in an unbelievably successful way, what would you say are a couple, right, core principles of leadership? And just to give you some context on why I'm asking this question, for me personally, I do coach with Sajag. Obviously, he's had a huge impact on our business. And that shedding of my skin was a very difficult process because I very much so, it's hilarious. I'll hop on my coaching calls with Sajag and I'm like, Sajag, I know you're trying to just ask questions and help me self-discover, but like, just tell me, dude, please, just give me the answer. And so
yes,
I'm doing this. I'm trying to get our listeners the answer. If you could give a bullet point list of, 2 to 3 items that, okay, cool, if I could have gone back a decade ago and just done these 2 to 3 things, communicated this way, shared this principle of thought, what would those be that you could go back and put in place earlier? Yeah,
absolutely. We do call this the Empower Home Leadership Formula. So we do have a set formula. So I'll share that with, yeah. So the first is inspect what you expect. And I know a lot of leaders talk about that, and it's a powerful quote. I've gotten into arguments as to who said it first. I thought it was Ronald Reagan, but apparently Roy Kroc said it first. I don't know. Anyways, I don't care because it's impacted me. So one of the things that I learned is that when you're leading salespeople, okay, so like the best salespeople are optimists. And if they weren't optimists, they wouldn't be good. Okay. So like, I want to pause there because I think a lot of leaders like want to sort of change them. And I'm not saying you do not want to actually change them, because their optimism, like they think they got it, or the reason that they didn't win the business is because of something that's not in their control, right? It's always like, it was the commission. Sarah, if you would tell us to charge less, I would get more listings. Or I know that they're going to go with me. They really liked me. I felt really good about the appointment. And that's what they put in the notes, right? They go on the appointment, they put that in the notes. And for years, I believed them, just like most leaders do, like you believe your people. And I'm not saying that they're lying, to be very clear. Okay. They actually don't know they're lying. And I truly believe that. Okay. Because they're optimists. They're natural optimists. Okay. If they don't think positively about what they did, we would not have any agents. So it's good that they think that way. Right. So when I say inspect what you expect, I mean, you've got to talk to the consumer. Like, you cannot rely on what your salespeople or what your team tells you. If the numbers say something's not going well, you always trust the numbers and you go straight to the consumer. And so what that looked like for me and what that looks like for the leaders at Empower Home is we do something that's called conversion calls. And our leaders do this. It's not our agents, our leaders do it. So if we meet with the seller and they don't sign an agreement with us, we pick up the phone and we call and we say something like this. Hi, it's Sarah with Empower Home, and you met with my partner, Riley. And I noticed that when Riley came over that we weren't able to earn your business. And I just wanted to ask, why is that? And you just start talking with them about, like, how did the appointment go? Did they feel cared for? Did they have questions that weren't answered? And what I learned, because for years I believed, exactly what the agent said, that they didn't go with us because of commission. But what I learned is that many times it's something that they did that rubbed the person the wrong way, or a lot of times they didn't even ask for the business. So they didn't ask to get the business. And those are my favorite, because all I have to do is ask and then we get it. And so you inspect what you expect by talking to the actual customer versus trusting what your people say. Trust the numbers. And when the numbers say something's wrong, go straight to the customer. And when you talk with your customers, you are going to find out what's truly happening. And then you coach your people on whatever the trends are. So the first trend that I learned when I started doing conversion calls is that my people weren't spending enough time asking open-ended questions. They were going straight to our presentation. Well, not one seller woke up today that wants a presentation. Like, I will tell you right now. Okay. They did not wake up saying, I cannot wait for a realtor to present to me today.
Yeah. Wait to this listing strategy.
Yes. Like, if they don't feel cared for, then they don't hear anything that we say. And so I started teaching my agents on asking open-ended questions. I started building a system and a process. Like, here are the Empower Home 10 open-ended questions that you ask before you ever open up your computer. And that started by me talking with clients. That started by me talking with the consumer, the customer. And so, like, the first step is you do that. The second step is you write down all the trends, like you write down exactly what they're saying, and then you identify trends. Like today, it's sort of easy. You could actually put that in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will tell you the trends. Like, this is where the biggest blind spot is of your people, or this is where you need help. And then you build a process around the trend. So you process it out because, have you ever watched the show The Profit, Profit?
I have not. No.
Okay. It's Marcus Lemonis. And he always talks about that if a business is failing, it's 3 Ps. It's either you've got the wrong people, you've got the wrong product, or you have the wrong process. And 90% of the time, I coach a lot of other businesses and talk with a lot of business leaders. And I'll tell you, 90% of the time, they have a process problem. They don't have a product problem. They don't have a people problem. They have a process problem. So, like, developing the process to help your people know and have clarity on what they should do at each part of the process is super important. And so that's the next step. And then you teach it again. Yeah. And every quarter you literally teach the same thing over and over and over again. And your people act like every quarter it's fresh new material that they've never heard before. So
that is amazing.
That's the formula.
I love that. I mean, I think it's so interesting because I know I personally, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners too, have fallen into that thought process of like, it's the next step and the next step and the next step. And what's the next thing we got to coach to? What's the next thing we got to coach to? When in reality, it's like you just kind of say the same thing over and over again, just in different ways. And it kind of turns from a statement or a coaching, call to questions and helping them self-discover over time, right? It's just such an interest, but it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing say over and over again.
Yeah. I think the biggest mistake that I see leaders make, and that like I've had to learn the hard way, is like they go into victim mode and blame their people, right? Like it's my people's fault for not converting. Like I don't have talent. Like if I had $1 for every time I've heard a leader say I don't have talented people, and my thought, the minute I hear that, I think we've got a non-talented leader, actually, because your job is to develop your people. No one was born naturally talented. Like, do we have gifts? Absolutely. We have strengths? Absolutely. But all of us have had to be developed, right? And it's the leaders that take the time that slow down. You've got to slow down. And it's also, you've got to be patient. Like, one of the hardest things for me was going from the dopamine rush of getting a listing, like that win, right? I got the listing, I beat out a competitor, to like, when does someone you've developed, like at what point do you get that signed, right? Like you don't. Like it's not like it's like a year. It can take a year, right? Or more to develop someone. And so like, you've got to be patient through it and recognize progress that you're making while you're developing people, and not look for like the immediate result, because that's not how developing people works. It takes time.
That's really, so what, to bring that down, I love that. And I'm like sitting here processing it, to bring that down to somebody who can be listening to this on their ride into the office or, whatever, and they go in and they sit down next to one of their agents, right? Having the patience while you're working somebody through a process. It's the classic adage of like, is it about the journey? Is it about the destination, right? Is it about the people? Whatever. I would personally say it's always about the people, right? How would you say, like, how would you coach somebody through, you're having a conversation right now with an agent or another leader, how would you coach somebody through enjoying that process? Because it's frustrating, right? Like it really catches you sometimes where all you want to do is just be like, dude, what are you missing, right? Or like, what is the problem here, right? How do you teach, how would you teach a leader listening to this to say, hey, this is how you celebrate wins and enjoy this process as you're going through it? Because to your point, it's not just the dopamine hit going, getting a listing, because that's where I think a lot of leaders miss the transitioning out of the doing to the teaching. How do you get people to enjoy that process of the teaching?
I think it starts with your expectation, your immediate expectation of the person. I just had last week, it was a good reminder of this for me. I was coaching one of our regional directors of sales, and for a year, he has brought up that he is struggling with conversion calls, which is what I just talked about, right? Calling the person that didn't sign with us. And he said, I was a really great agent. I'm a really great coach. I know how to coach to someone's pipeline. But when it comes to calling a seller where our agent didn't do what they were supposed to do, like, I'm really struggling with like changing the outcome, because I talk to my leaders all the time about our job is to change outcomes. And I realized in that moment that I was expecting way too much from him over the last year when he needs to be developed in it. And so because what I realized is I actually didn't start with making conversion calls to change the outcome. Because now I can make a call right now and I can actually within 30 minutes have a listing agreement signed over the phone. Like without meeting with them, and that's what I was expecting of my leaders, is for them to do the same thing. But what I realized is that actually is not how I started. How I started was just in getting feedback from the person. I didn't start with like converting them over the phone. I started with, can I just get feedback about my agents and about that first initial appointment? And if I can get feedback, then I can help them. But if I don't get true feedback, then we're not helping them. And so like I slowed myself down in the one-on-one last week, and I said, you know what? This is really good because you've brought this up on almost every one-on-one, and I keep pushing you to change an outcome when really I need to be the one to change my expectations of you. And so what we're going to do this quarter, and so I always say, give it 3 months. This whole idea that someone's going to change within like a week, like that's not how change happens. Change happens over time. And so like I said, this quarter, all I want you to do is I want you to make calls and I want you to get feedback. That's it. I don't want you to focus on getting the agent in front of them again. I don't want you to focus on getting the listing. I want you to focus on just getting feedback about our agents to where we're coaching them on where they really need to improve. So I had that. I said, forget about changing outcomes. We're only going to talk about what feedback you get. And that's what I want when you come to your one-on-ones. I want to hear about what feedback we're getting from sellers. So he immediately got on the phone. The pressure was removed, right? I removed the pressure from him. Instead, it was just get feedback. And then the next morning, I find out he booked multiple second appointments for us to get in front of the sellers again, which was not what I expected of him. It was not like, and it was because I worked with him on smaller steps and my expectations of him versus like the end result. You don't just jump there. You got to think, what are all of the things? So like in listing conversion, right? Like an agent needs to be developed on those open-ended questions and showing care. Don't focus on getting the listing, focus on one part of the process, get them good at that. Once they're good at that, then move them forward to the next part. And when you do that, you then celebrate the wins because you're like, oh my goodness, like you spent 30 minutes with them talking versus just talking at them. You know, I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's so, oh my gosh, I love that because it's interesting. It's like break it down into pieces and take one bite at a time, right? Not like to your point, you can't just snap your fingers and change a human being, right? You've got to guide them through the same steps you went through. You said something earlier that I just want to like reiterate. You have to like hold the mirror up for yourself. Sajik talks to me about that all the time, right? Leadership is holding up a mirror for the person that you're talking to, but you also got to make sure that you're holding up a mirror for yourself where in your head you're going, and I love this piece you said, in your head you're going, well, why can't you just do this? It's like, well, because when I was in their shoes, I was doing the same thing they're doing right now and I had to figure it out on my own. So how do I coach this person to this step, not the end goal that I want from them?
That's right.
I love that. Wow. That's amazing. So, okay. Tackled a lot in leadership. I mean, that is just, my head is turning on this leadership thing. So I want to move us into real estate for our last little bit here. When you think about the real estate space today, you've been massively successful for a very long period of time, and you've been growing and scaling inside of that time frame consistently, right? Which means you've got to know, you're very good at picking out the trends. You're very good at seeing what's coming next and utilizing that information to your benefit. So right now, what is the thing in the real estate space that you are most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about a lot of things, but I think, you know, the one thing I'm excited about is actually like, I believe that there is no better time right now for personal connection than right now. And I love AI and I love technology and what it's doing to our industry. Like it's making like your company is making my team better, right? I love that. And I talked to my team yesterday about like the power of a handwritten note. Like when was the last time that you got a handwritten note? I mean, like, and what would your world look like if you got home from a very stressful day and you had problem after problem you were solving and you were helping people and you walk in and you get a handwritten card from someone that you talked to a couple weeks ago and they told you the amazing impact that you had on them, and how that would keep you going, right? And like the personal connection, like connection to like outside of technology is actually going to become more valuable than ever before. I
like that.
And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited because I believe that the right agents should be leaning into technology, should be leaning into AI like we are, okay? And at the same time, the reason you lean into it is so you have more time to actually truly connect with people. That's why you lean into it. And that's what I'm excited about. If the agents take this era that we're in and truly take the time savings that they're getting to lean into building deeper relationships with the people that they work with their clients, with their community, can you imagine what differences we can make in the community when we do that versus just like sitting back and letting tech like run things? Yeah, we could choose to do that. But what I'm excited about is the choice of deepening personal relationships because we're fueled by AI and we're fueled by technology more.
I love that. It's like the right question to ask there is, what are you doing with the time and the leverage that AI is giving you back, right? And it's in your world, the answer is getting more personal with the human beings on the other end, right? That's the answer.
I'm now able every Thursday I used to lead my team meeting and then rush to the next meeting or rush to the next thing. Now I'm able to sit. I have lunch with all of my agents. We don't have a deadline. We just talk and we're organically like building like deeper relationships. Like I didn't have that time before. I didn't. Like I had to work on writing the next class or work on the next meeting. And like, I'm already seeing massive benefits to it, to my life, because I'm able to deepen those relationships and take that time savings on spending more time with people. And I think when we do that, we're going to win. So,
yeah. Wow. I love that. So one layer deeper on that. What are the places that you think AI is giving you guys the most time back? Like very specific, like process, things like that. Like what are the things that you're instilling right now? Because again, as a leader in the industry, I love these conversations because you pointed something out just now that I see all the time, right? We'll see agents come to us that are, sold 5 or 6 homes last year, and their entire objective of using our product or other products in the industry is to buy themselves back more time. It's like, I don't think you have a time problem, right? Like, I think you got a lot of time on your hands, right? And so your world is different than that agent might be. And so, you've already kind of talked through like, how can an agent individually use AI, but from a business standpoint, right? What are 2 ways, maybe a couple ways that you're instilling AI into your process to buy you back that time?
Yeah. I co-host a podcast called Empire Building, and we just recorded a whole episode on this topic. And one of the biggest things for me personally is helping me with content. So like my prompts are very long. Like I put in a ton of context and everything I know, but AI can organize a class for me literally within 5 minutes based on everything I put in. And so our fire alarm is going off.
No, I just heard that. I'm like, that feels like.
Okay. I was like, so I'm not sure if this is a test or if this is for real. So.
Well, no worries. Staying on our toes.
Yeah. Yes. And so like, that's a big thing. And then we're really, should I find out? I guess I should find out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's okay.
Hold on
100%.
second. Hold on.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. This is a test that they were not supposed to do while I was recording with you. So I apologize.
Don't worry about it. All good. Makes for a fun little snippet in the middle of our conversation.
Seriously. The other, should I keep going? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I can keep going. The other thing that it's helping us get our agents faster answers. So we developed our own like AI chatbot. And before, what used to happen is that our agents would post in Slack on where they need help. And then one of the leaders or coaches would reply and get them help. Or they would call someone and try to get a hold of a leader to try to get help. Yeah. Well, now they can go to Emma, our Empower Home Money Making Assistant, and Emma will give them the answer because we've taught Emma all of our system, and her knowledge base is the Empower Home Conversion System. And so it's helping us get our agents faster answers, which will help them serve families more and faster and save them time. And so those are the 2 ways that we're using it at a big level right now. Wow.
I love that. I mean, and that's not a hard thing to do, right? Building a little knowledge base on your business and creating a little Emma. I mean, it really isn't. And I think that's I got one more question for you after this, but I think that right there is something where just a little earmark for our listeners, like the ability to go create products for yourself inside of your own business in your own hands and personalize it. AI has completely, no matter what you look at, marketing funnels, B2B integration and process, creating better processes, whatever it is, AI has completely personalized everything, right? And the ability to create that personal experience inside of your own business is at your fingertips. It's not difficult to do, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the other thing too is like what we're doing with you. I mean, I was so against it. Like I was so against in the beginning. I was like, what? We're gonna have a robot call our leads? Like heck no. Like I've totally been convinced that this makes total sense with especially like older leads. And like I know that we've already booked an appointment and we just launched officially with you. And I like, that's amazing too. Like I think about the time savings for our ISAs and how many more people we're going to be able to help because of that. So, I mean, we've got AI stuff going on all over the place around here. And so
yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, I've had the chance to build some really awesome relationships with your leadership team and a lot of the people that work at the Power Home team and just having conversations with them even, you guys have such an amazing way of distilling down where, implementing these tech tools is actually valuable. And we just extracted such a good piece of info, and I'm excited to share that, because that is such a, I love the way you look at it, because again, I think too many people are like, save me time, give me back my freedom, all this stuff with AI. It's like, well, really, it's leverage for the things. It's I wrote this down. I write down these little thoughts as they come to me. And one of the things that I hit was AI makes scaling the unscalable scalable, right? And like really does. Scaling unscalable activities. Historically, one of the guys I love to listen to is Gary Vee, and he says that all the time: scale the unscalable and you'll be successful. But there's definitely a breaking point where you're trying to scale unscalable activities and it's like, oh, this isn't working very well. AI is one of the first times where you're able to scale unscalable activities at kind of a limitless scale. And it's really, really, really powerful stuff.
Yep.
I love that. So, okay, last question, because I know you got to go. Hopefully your fire alarm is all good. One book, if you could get everybody to read it, what is your one book?
That is so hard. There are so many amazing books. I would say if I had to pick just one, I would say a book called Remarkable. It's not talked about a ton. It's a little red book, but it has a lot of cultural things in it, and not just cultural things, but just like truly like leadership. It's just a great book. So it's called Remarkable, and it's remarkable, maximizing results through value creation. And it talks about bringing value basically wherever you go, as a company, as an individual. And it really, no matter where you are in business or where you are in life, it will provide a lot of value to you. The book will. And so Remarkable is the book that I would recommend.
Remarkable. Okay. Well, I'm going to go listen to that right now. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for this time. I mean, again, just a wealth of knowledge. This is our first podcast of the year. We are starting it off on the right foot. I'm going to call you next year on January 13th, and we're going to film another podcast and talk about the progression over 2026. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you. And I hope our listeners got a lot of value out of this. I know I did.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the Speculo Live podcast. We are very grateful for your support, as always. If you or someone that you know is interested to just get a consultation on how they're using AI in their real estate business, do not hesitate to hit us up through one of the links in our profile, or you can feel free to DM us on any one of the social channels. Stay tuned for more episodes, and make sure to like and subscribe to make sure that you get notified when our next podcast episode comes up. Thanks, guys.